Hi guys, I've finished my drop pod and I've got nice posh scenery in the background now. I'm sure most of my subscribers were getting fed up of the plain pine wood background, so yeah, definitely going a bit upmarket now with the background. So right, anyway, cracking on. Let's zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to go over pretty much how I went about painting this drop pod. Now, most of the painting of the drop pod was done, I'd say at least 80% was done with the airbrush. I started off airbrushing a primer on a urethane primer, and then I laid down a mix of Vallejo game colour paint, which was black and raw blue. I wanted a really dark base because I wanted to bring up the colours and have as much options as I could, because I'm still fairly new to the airbrush. I personally think, well, from my perspective anyway, being new to it, I think the worst thing I could have done is to start like at a mid-tone blue and then try and work my highlights up from there, because I would have just ended up with nowhere to go. The model would have looked quite light. So starting from a very dark base enabled me to build up the colour gradually and without worrying of washing out the colour with making it too pale. What I also did as well is I masked off the panel lines down here, and I hit the front panels a little bit lighter. But to be honest, I did a lot of unnecessary fussing with this miniature that, to be honest, in future I might not do. Example, when you start weathering the miniature and you start adding dirt and dust and like scorch marks or like dust from vents, half of the nice blending that you actually originally painted with your, masking off areas and building up the colour subtly, it's going to get lost in all the weathering and effects that you're adding on it anyway. So sometimes less can be more, to be honest. And the light effects, with a paintbrush it could be very, very difficult and time consuming. With an airbrush it's very, very, very quick. I started off just painting these lights here white, and then using the airbrush, gradually bringing myself out to blur and sweeping the airbrush around to give those nice rings of light. I used a verdigris colour, I believe, in the game colour range for that, and then after that just went just in the very centres with the airbrush there. I think that was at 15 psi, and being super careful that the paint's exactly the right consistency and not pulling back on the trigger too much. I think the art I found with the airbrush is not necessarily being a wizard, if you like, holding the airbrush. It's more so making sure that when you're using the airbrush, your fine finger movements on the control mechanism is accurate. That's the most important thing. Well, I found to this day anyway. Once I found that I was getting to that stage, I started to really get the hang of things, and I've obviously done that all the way around with the lights. The weathering effects with like the dust it's come down and the dust has just plumed all up the sides of the doors there. That's fairly simple, really. To get that done, I just use Vallejo game colour earth tone, and you hit it with a pass with the airbrush, and then you keep going lower and lower and lower, and what you'll get is a nice transitions from where the dust is thinnest at the top to where it's thickest at the bottom. So I've done that all the way around. Let's open it up, shall we? The strips I used masking tape, and the easiest way, I think I've seen someone do this on YouTube. It might have been Catfish or someone else, so if I'm giving the wrong person credit, apologies, but I do believe it was Catfish, so if it was, thank you. And basically you lay down a strip of the masking tape. Make sure it's low tack as well, it's really crucial. I've got low tack masking tape, but it's not the best. I could do with getting some of the Tamiya stuff, but anyway, you mask off the section, then you mask another section, and then you mask another section, and the middle one you pull out, and because you're doing it all in a line, every other piece that you pull off is going to be exactly the same shape. Now there is a clever way of making sure that you don't pull the paint off when you've masked it, and what it involves, say for example you're painting all the strips in orange there, then you mask it off. Sorry, I'll be back in a second, guys. Sorry about that, guys. Where was I? I think I was talking about the strips. So yeah, paint everything orange, then you put all your masking tape strips on there, so you'd have one masking off the orange there and there and there, so all these areas would be masked. Now rather than going back in and hitting them straight away with the areas that you want painted black, go over all of the masking tape again with your yellow colour, and what that will do is it will seal all the gaps where the masking tape is. It will seal them up good and proper, and you let that dry, and then when you go over the areas that you want black and you peel it back, because you resealed it again with your base colour, which was your yellow, there's no way the black could seep underneath the masking tape. Now if you've got really good masking tape, you've probably not got to worry about that too much, but it's a nice little bit of insurance. To be honest, I did really rush this, and half of them I didn't do, and I went back in and weathered it anyway. But if you want to make sure that you're not going to get no colour bleed whatsoever, go over the masking tape with your base colour before you add the stripes of colour. I hope I've explained that so it makes sense in the video. Anything else cool? Again, in the insides, it's all pretty much basic colours. I would advise anyone that's going to paint a drop pod or make a drop pod, please don't model it and then paint it. We've all fallen in the same trap. Well, most of us do that. You get a nice new miniature and you want to make it there and then you want to see what it looks like. But the drop pod, in my opinion, from the models that I've done so far, it's one of the worst models you can actually paint fully assembled. I mean, look at in there. I mean, yes, I airbrushed and it made life a little easier for me, but still, it was a pain. And there's so much detail in this drop pod there that I've not been able to get at because of how difficult it is to paint. But yeah, so yeah, that's a drop pod really. The magnets are still holding up and working well. There's no way any of these doors are going to drop down on me, which is cool. So yeah, that's the drop pod done and dusted. And if anyone's got any ideas or anyone wants any more information about this drop pod, let me know, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Thanks for watching.